Sensitivity is intelligence. With grace and skill, you have abundance. Welcome to the Psychic Hour. Host Kelly Brickle is a psychic medium healer, numerologist, and teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy. Whether it's through spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers, there's always a pathway of information waiting to help. Now, here is your host of the Psychic Hour, Kelly Brickle.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Psychic Hour on WLTK-DB. Let's Talk Radio. Welcome. We are at our Wednesday interview series. We're going to be having the wonderful Kim Copeland on, and she is a medium, a healer, a former hospice nurse. She has so much experience, and she has a beautiful YouTube community too. She does videos every week. So when she pops down, we're gonna be diving into conversations about like healing and mediumship. And if you have a question, it's the time to do so. This is such a wonderful show. She's 20 years of experience in the industry. Such a beautiful place to ask questions, interact. And that's my design and vision for the show of the weekly series. I want people just diving in and they have someone that can answer the question of that very subject. And, we have the reading show on Friday. So it's, if you want to interact with the energy for a reading format, you do. But for the Wednesday, it's really interactive. And towards the last 20 minutes of the show, 15-minute, we really take your questions. But if it's really busy in here, we start taking your questions a little bit earlier. So yes, welcome. Hi, MKVUKY. I'm going to say Mukfuki. Hi, Chris. What's up? Hi, Casey. Hi, Anna. Welcome. So yeah, please pop down those questions. So we're going to be having Kim in a little bit. We always do the inspiration. And what was really calling to me to talk about was strengths and weaknesses. And so we all got them. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, that's for sure. And our strengths and weaknesses, they really talk to us. They really let us know so very much about ourselves. And it's also in the energy of awareness and forgetting too. With what we're strong in, we have much awareness in. We have flexibility. We have, we can cultivate skill. We can build upon it. Our awareness is open. It's locked in, and we're even having fun with it. So we have, again, this greater degree of flexibility and creativity because we're happy to be there. And our weaknesses, they're confusing. Sometimes they're trauma linked and they have pain. Sometimes there's uncertainty. And so our weaknesses, we sometimes forget to look at them, or we just can't completely be aware of them because sometimes it's in our programming to look away from our weaknesses. And regardless of if you make a list, if you meditate, if you have an aha moment of your strengths and weaknesses, it will tell you so much about yourself. Your strengths, you probably already know because awareness is there. But the weaknesses, do you really know your weaknesses? And it's kind of in the things, I'll go back to it some more. It's in the things that we forget most often, and you can just look that within other people. Think about people that that are close to you, and you go, oh gosh, that's where they fall short. And if you have a conversation with them about it, they almost don't want to talk about it. They're uncomfortable, or they just maybe have been having years of difficulty in that capacity because they just don't get it. So there's these familiar kind of energy signatures that come up when we're, flexible with something versus not flexible with something, when we have awareness versus forgetting. And I think a beautiful way it can come up in our life is just to kind of look over the course of just the major areas of life, like relationships. Some of you rock at relationships, and you probably give relationships advice to your friends, your family, or always looking out for people, or maybe even unsolicited advice because you're like, you need to hear this, right? Don't let this happen to you. Or other people rock with their health, like they're just really in tune with their bodies. They're very aware of that they need to have this certain maintenance and this certain relationship with their body in order for them to do what they need to do in life and to have a certain energetic frequency. Others are very good with career, right? Like, like maybe stress gets to them in other capacities, but they're just like an ace when it comes to having to perform, or they're just like the show must, right? The show must go on, or, let me put on the many different hats. I will catch the balls as they come. We'll figure it out. And it's funny because sometimes when you are in career and you have this dynamic where you're able to oversee others, it depends on what your career is, of course. It depends on what we do in these energy fields of relationship, career, health. And we're going to get into that. But like in career, if you have enough authority within your career, you almost in some ways could operate as like a father or a mother, right? You have an extended family because you have to make sure that the working environment is healthy and harmonious. And so you can have overlapping strengths or you can have overlapping weaknesses. Like you have a lot of discord within the company because whether yourself or whether management doesn't know how to cultivate a family environment or a friendly environment, right? So you can see where the overlaps start to happen. But yeah, you can have tremendous cooperative success from field to field. And so we're going to jump around. You might be awesome with friends and family. And so you're very good with checking in with others. But then are you good with checking in with yourself? Are you cultivating your own relationships that you want? Are you, cultivating the health that you want? And we're going to go back to like within the fields themselves. Like for instance, I'll give an example. I know that I rock with when it comes to food. Like I'm really good with food. I'm human, of course. So like sometimes if I'm busy, I'll be like, oh, I better stuff some food in me, right? Or I get balance my day. But I'm the type of person that if I have like a vacation or event, I'm pre-planning my food, I'm pre-planning my schedule because I'm checking with my energy, I'm checking with in my health. Okay. Like I'm checking with my supplements, I'm checking in with like, how the food makes me feel, what are my food options. I'm really good in that category in so many different ways. I could like itemize how I rock in that category. But with another category that I've suffered and I have weakness in is sleep, right? And sleep and food, they're the pillars of health, right? And sometimes I make these plans, these sleep schedules, and it's like my awareness is nowhere near the same. It's not. I'll like be up and I'll be working on something with career late at night. And so I will sacrifice my health for my career at night sometimes, right? Or I've been known to stay up in the past. I used to stay up late to help with like a family or friend situation, sacrifice health for another strength, right? And so I found myself throughout my life and I continue to at times going, I have to double check on sleep. I have to double check on sleep because for some reason I overlook that so easily, or I'm on it and then I look at the clock and the time just whoosh, whisks by, and I don't have the awareness quite the same way within my body. Sometimes, it's not a mental thing. Sometimes there's a feeling, even vibration within the body. You go, my body can't feel how to interact. Okay. So you make the list and you become more aware of it. Or like think about it, just like in the category of health, maybe you rocket health, maybe you rocket going to the gym, but like are you going to the dentist every year? Are you going, are you getting your eye exam? Are you getting your physical, right? And for some reason, for some people that is more needed than others, depending on, of course, a multitude of factors. But when we downplay things, we go, oh, well, it's not such a big deal. But if we kind of like look into ourselves. Like, how often do I not say it's a big deal? How often do I not want to have awareness on something that I deem not important, or something that I think is minuscule, but I admit, when I think of the overall picture, it is actually important that it gets tended to. But my default is, I'd rather not look, I'd rather not think about it. Maybe some other time, right? Right, pushing it aside. What happens is, then it personifies that we choose not to look there, we choose not to feel there, we choose not to experience there. And I think, like, I'm gonna have Kim on in a moment. That is a huge part of healing. It really is, because the healer facilitates the environment to see, to hear, to feel what is going on with the individual, whether with it's in the body, or with it's in the aura, like the energy field. And things are assisted in that capacity for the energy to move and to strengthen and tonify, or even to have a conscious relationship with talking about it during the healing process. And so many times, our strengths and weaknesses, you know, we must really lean into our strengths. I really do believe in the philosophy that if we lean into our strengths, we can build our energy then to carry us through to look at our weaknesses. We have to build ourselves up, right? But we do need others. We do need reminders, and we do need a safe place to rest our head, our mind, our bodies, and our souls, so we can even begin to do the work. So I encourage you to think about your strengths and weaknesses, make a list if you want to, think on those things, and then just start to be in the energy of, what do I find myself forgetting a lot? And see if you can start bringing that up within the list, or just in recollection. And I promise you, it will spark so much fascinating things about yourself. And we'll probably highlight that for the next show too. There's something else I want to talk about within that vein of when we go into the realms of what we usually forget, the shadow realms, right? They're called a lot of things, but all right. So, with that said, we will pop back in a second. Bring your questions, bring your conversation, and we're going to bring our love for Kim. See you in a few.
If you're a fan of the paranormal world, then you'll love WLTK-DB Talk Radio. Talk shows bringing you the latest on everything paranormal, cryptozoological, metaphysical, true crime, psychic readings, and more. The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.
Hello, and welcome back. Let's bring in Kim. Give you a warm welcome, Kim. Hey, let me introduce you. Hello. So Kim Copeland, we're welcoming her back to the show. She has walked between worlds as a medium, energy worker, and hospice nurse with over 20 years of experience and knowledge. Whether connecting to loved ones, angels, or vibrational colors of the soul, she shares from the heart. Absolutely. Welcome, Kim. Oh, hey. Oh, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Perfect.
Woo-hoo.
Yes.
All right. Woo-hoo. Yeah.
Hello. It's great to see you.
Great to see you too, Kelly. What do you want to talk about today?
Oh, healing. Let's do it, right?
Okay. Sure.
Healing, and maybe we can get into some colors too.
Okay. Whatever. Okay. I mean, because healing can come in colors. We can use colors for healing, and that's pretty fun and magical. Yeah. So for me, healing, my background is long as far as healing goes. I probably started, I don't know, somewhere around 95, learning different healing techniques, energy work mainly, whether it's therapeutic touch or healing touch for nurses or energy medicine, Reiki. You know, there's so many types of healing we can do. There's Western medicine healing, there's Eastern medicine, right? So, I mean, really, we can even say music is healing. We can say, as you were talking about sleep and food, all that is healing. It's another healing modality. There's so many ways. And I think it's important to realize that everything that we put into our environment, whether it is directly related to like food as a medicine or sleep, your sleep environment, or maybe your home environment, the colors you look at, all that has an energy and that affects your body's energy system. So, I mean, if we're working energy to energy, you want the most harmonious balance, you know, the most harmonious that you're bringing into your system in every way, whether it's even vitamins, everything, you want that to be in harmony with your body. I mean, you know, just because turmeric is, you know, it's very popular nowadays. And so it's not, that doesn't mean it's good for everybody. So you can use energy work or energy medicine to test it, to make sure before you even take it, to see if it's right for your body. So there's just, I mean, really, I think of healing as just balancing your body as much as possible. Sometimes people think of healing as miracles, right? I want a miracle. I want to fix, I want to heal my cancer. I want to heal my anxiety. I want to heal my relationship. And, you know, so it's on all different levels. Healing can be physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental. You know, I think of those four basic areas where people are often wanting healing, but any of it can be affected, you know, by the energy that we're around. So my before the pandemic, I was always doing hands-on healing, and I used energy medicine, mostly the Eden energy medicine, as my primary way for healing. But now that I've been doing a lot more Zoom, I've been doing long distance healing. And
Yeah.
now they're different. It's very different. But I find that there's miracles that happen even in long distance healing. I'm so
Oh,
excited
yeah.
too about that because I've noticed that, like, whoa, okay, that worked, you know?
Oh yeah, like long distance healing is fascinating. I really do think, and let me know what you think as well. You're, yes, working with a similar type of energy, but there's a difference with how it feels, and there's a difference with how you work. Where, at least in my experience, I go, wow, like I have to train my brain differently with how I connect and how I work with the energy. How do you feel?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, with hands-on, I used to think, okay, you know, I'm going to be touching certain meridian points, or I'm working on the chakras, or the grounding system, or the Celtic weave, whatever system you're working with, you know. And it was very much in my mind. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Now, there's a few points like the main electrics. You don't have to know anything. You just put your hands. The main electrics, by the way, are on the back of the head, where the bladder meridian is and meets the top of the between the head and the neck. Those are main electrics, and those are like, those just know what to do. When you
Oh wow.
you have somebody lying down and you put your hands under their head and your tall fingers in those two spots, then you just sit there for maybe 15 minutes and the energy just goes where it needs to. And you don't have to know anything about healing. You don't have to do anything because it's the body's innate wisdom to heal.
Wow.
But when you're working with, say, trance healing, that's and this is a little bit on the new for me. I mean, I still think of when I'm working with somebody, even in distance, I'm still imagining what I'm working on. But trance, for instance, all you do, you connect to the God source, then you connect to your client, and then you walk away. And you allow those two energies to blend, and you know, with the intention of healing, and then you come back. Anyway, so that's very fascinating too.
There's correct. Yeah. Like, in some ways, like distance healing, takes more concentration, and in other ways it takes like no concentration depending on the modality. Yeah.
Exactly. Right, right. And I have a healing circle that we meet every other week. And I just started maybe 3 sessions ago, or 4, I guess. And people are coming back like, oh, my rash that I've had for 2 years, gone.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
gone. It went away. And I wouldn't have not been able to figure it out in 2 years. And it was just during this 5-minute in a group healing session that it went away. So I don't know. And I've seen that over lots of times. It's not just for I've seen it, eyes improved, like going to the doctor and saying the vision's improved, hearing's improved. I mean, things like that. It's pretty amazing.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. It's kind of it's mind-boggling because, you know, when we're tapping into source, I think, like, you know, just to talk about the fundamentals of healing, you know, you're tapping into an energy greater than oneself. And so that energy that you're tapping into could be like a group system of a lineage, with how others think like you, feel like you, connect to you within the same energy that you work in. Or it could be, you know, the divine, the universe, the collective. It can be so many different things, but it's greater than oneself. And miracles happen when you have just the human body is just like this fascinating machine. And then so imagine just like times 1,000 what you're capable of, or the universe times 1,000,000,000 trillion, you know, like a Googleplex, I don't know, the biggest number I can think about, you know, what it's capable of healing, repairing, restoring. Like, that's why miracles are possible. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think that there's, you know, master healers too, you know, on the other side. And sometimes when people cross over, let's say a near-death experience, what do you think happens? I mean, why are they healed all of a sudden, right? And I don't know. I have a friend who has visions of this, and he says, well, they have all kinds of automatic surgery just right away, and they can fix it on the other side, and it's quick. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. Like I said, he has visions. He has a lot of visions about a lot of things. But so I think you're right. It's we limit what our brain, our humanness thinks can happen, and it is much greater than that. I've also heard in the future, who knows really if this is true, but in the future that we're going to be able to regenerate lost limbs or the spinal cord fracture. So I think that, and plus, you know, light and sound is also very powerful healer. Although it seems very subtle, it seems very mild, but I've known a lot of things with the light and the sound is very powerful. And if you think about Egypt, for instance, I know they used light and sound there in the healing rooms.
I love Egypt, and I don't know enough about their healing systems or what they did. I know some things of history, but have you like channeled, or have you talked with people, or what connection do you have with Egypt with light and sound and healing?
Okay. Good question. Very good question, Kelly. Okay. So when I do readings for people, I often go back to past lives. It's just natural for me to go right back, and I see Egypt a lot with a lot of people, and I see the healing room. Sometimes it's not always that pleasant, actually. Sometimes people are almost like slave healers. I've seen that a couple times where, they're so good at healing that that's their job and that's all they do. And then it gets kind of hard, right? It's too much. It's like they're chained to that job. But also I see so often crystal in beds, lights, and it's like knowing about the sound too. I think my clairaudience is not, I don't like hear regular music or sound bowls, but I can tell. It's like I know that's what they're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I'm very visual, so I see the colors easy, and I see the colors that. And when I work with people too, sometimes I will take them back to Egypt, or sometimes I take them back to a planet called Solaris, which is the healing center for healers. And in at Solaris, then I just let the guides do it, and I just follow along. And they usually use color healing, and I can see what they're doing. They're packing certain colors in, and they maybe infuse other colors, and maybe it's layered, and it goes to just exactly where it needs to go.
So with the different modalities that you use with like Solaris, is that like a planet and energy that you channeled? Is that something like you were taught, you were guided? How did you find Solaris? How did you start working with that energy that you're connected to?
Okay, very good question. Okay, so I used to lead a meditation group, and every week we would do something different. And then one week, I was just told, you're going to go to a planet. You're gonna travel to. I mean, I just got, I'm just writing my notes. Oh yeah, you're going to go to a planet. I didn't know it was called Solaris. And so we went to this planet, and I could see what we were doing. We were all going into like a little healing vacation, sort of, or a spa. I would say spa. And we walked in, and we all had our own crystalline beds, and we all, different colors, and we were connected in a certain way as well. And so then that's how I came across it. One of the ladies that was with me during that first mind journey or healing journey, she said, "Oh, they told me it was called Solaris." So ever since then, I've just called it Solaris.
Hey, yeah.
And so also, I know it's a place where, and they're actually, I don't know if we can look it up. I never tried to look up Solaris, if it's on the internet or not, but I do use it now a lot. And I do know that it's a feeling, knowing that it's a place where we can go, healers of all kinds, wounded healers, anybody who needs healing can go. And when I go there, by the way, I usually imagine going in a spaceship. But you don't have to do that, because it's just our linear mind taking us there. You can just imagine being in Solaris. You don't have to actually have that journey to get there.
Sure. If I may ask to, well, first, I guess, like, I'll just like say something. Like, I can relate to, it's different, but I can relate to like the concept for sure, because I think, everyone needs like a sanctuary, or like a place where they can, drink from the well.
Yeah.
And so it's fascinating to hear about like Solaris and the energy in the planet. And every time that you're describing it, I keep seeing like pink and like green sparkling. And
Oh yeah. I see a lot of pink there, like magenta. Yeah.
it reminds me of like, the colors behind you, even though there's like way more pink. Like, it reminds
Oh,
me of like kind of what's going on behind you,
yes.
even though there's like way,
Yes.
way more pink.
That's right. That is right. That's how I see it too, actually.
That's really cool.
Yes. Um, yeah, and I also use another thing. When I'm doing more like what I would call more trance-like healing, and this is on the newer side for me. I imagine that we're in a circle, and and we're in. So instead of going to Solaris, we can be in a circle with the God Source and use the healing there. So really, there's a lot of, it's not just one way. There's a lot of ways to do that.
I'm curious about it. And Chris is saying Solaris is an old book written by a Polish dude. Was that the book made into a sci-fi movie? Because there was a couple movies called Solaris that were.
There was.
Yeah, there was like a famous one that I never saw. Then there's like a remake with George Clooney, I think, like 5 years ago or something like that. I can't remember, but I wonder. I don't know what the story is about at all.
I don't either. I'm not really a movie buff, so I don't know.
Yeah, gosh, I vaguely
Uh-huh.
remember. Maybe Chris, you can tell us the concept and we'll see if there's any correlation. It's always fascinating if there's similar words. Oh wait,
No, this is
I was like, oh, he wrote something, and he's like, yep, that's all he said. Okay, thanks, Chris. Chris is really fun. So do you have any other planets that you work with, or I know that you connect to like galactic energy, you talk about that too sometimes, or starseed energy. Like,
yeah.
that's something that like you have a lot of interest in. So how do you work with that too as well, or does that connect with Solaris as well, with what you do together, with when you connect beyond Earth?
Okay. Well, I feel like the galactic energy, the galactic angels, who, I mean, really, I think we're all one. And whether we call it galactic or our brothers and sisters who look different, I don't know, but I always call on them. Actually, I always feel like I work with them. I mean, even when I work with Master Yeshua, I I feel like he's kind of galactic. And when I work with Archangel Michael, I feel like he's galactic. So I'm not excluding that energy. Now, sometimes I will absolutely see what I would say is galactic, where they look green. There's little beings, that are not too tall, maybe 4.5 feet tall. And I know they're healers. I mean, because I've seen them a lot. But so I think it really varies on person to person. So I use whatever, when somebody's coming to me, I tune into their spirit team, and I work with my spirit team. I always work with Mother Mary. I always work with Master Yeshua. I always work with Archangel Raphael. That's pretty much hands down, always. And then I always also ask for whatever galactic energies. Now, when I go to Solaris, usually it is the galactic little team. They come in different colors. They will changing out. The first color will be green, for instance, as an example. Second color may come in as pink. Then they change out like their specialties. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So
It does.
okay, and then maybe we go to gold, or and then Master Yeshua, he's usually the one at the very end. He I would call him the inspector. It's like he's coming to inspect, and then he does his final touches. That's usually what happens in Solaris for me. But then I mean, I have a variety of ways, and like last week I was working with using going into the center of a circle with the God force and doing it that way. I also use wands. I use selenite swords, and this is just in the last couple months. I'll show you one. I have got one here. One of these.
Oh, wow.
It has a
Elaborate.
rodent on it. The thing is, what this does, this is selenite here, and inside is a copper tubing has sacred waters from rivers. I think 9 rivers from around the world, and some crystals also, and symbols. Okay, so what I do with this, when somebody says, "Okay, I've got a neck pain," for instance, okay, then I'm gonna just focus my energy on the neck. But I also have to remember it's not me doing it. This is just helping my human stay focused. But I really want whether it's galactic energy, whatever energy you want to call it, to work. And I'm just here to be the conduit. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think like when people really get into deep healing concepts, and you work with energy healers that can really create change, when you start to understand about their process, it deals a lot with transcendence, because we're transcending the human and physical and earth limitations to create different outcomes within the body. And so you have to think vastly differently, and there's so much more than what we can see and what we've been taught and what's in front of us. And so that's why we're talking about planets, and that's why we're talking about like ascended masters and all these tools that help us get there. And we have these very real experiences when we are interacting with how to open up frequency, how to manifest and change what is going on in just our experience. And I think that's why all of a sudden, for people who've never experienced, I guess, being in touch with meditation on that level or healing on that level, it almost seems like, whoa, that's really far out there. But these experiences are real, whether they are how the human mind is starting to open up and see more and more of the truth, or whether it's actually happening. Uh, it's colorful, it's bright, it seems otherworldly. It is otherworldly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm bridging the gap, because I know people are like, oh, I've never heard of some of these things before, but this is the segue into it. This is the bridge into it. And I know that you have like a lot of passion with working with like the different, we talked about it with like the galactic energies. You went to Mount Shasta recently, and you were interacting on that level too over that. Can you let me know about that?
Oh my gosh, that was so amazing. Let's talk about power. And I'm going to go back again next June, and people are invited. I mean, if people want to check, follow me on my website or whatever, mediumkim.com. But okay, so we would meet. So first of all, Mount Shasta is an area in Northern California that has Lemurian energy. Lemurian is related to Atlantis, and then the Lemurian people, supposedly that's the story. And there's a couple different versions. We're in Hawaii when the island sunk, and somehow we were all connected. They made their way up to Mount Shasta. Okay, and remember, the galactic energies have been on Earth before humans. Okay, so anyway, they're still, according to the stories, people that live in the mountain that are Lemurian. Okay, so anyway, but basically, it's a very powerful place. There's a lot of vortex. There's a lot of galactic energy. You can see spaceships every day there, if you want. They usually hide in the clouds. But anyway.
Wow, wait.
What I did
was, now.
I know. It's great. What I did was met three friends, and we would meet at the mountain every morning. About an hour and a half. We would have a circle, more of a shamanic circle. We would meditate together, and then we would go off and do our different things during the day. But what happened one of the days, well, first of all, it's total joy the whole time I was there. And when you're in joy, when you feel joy, and I don't know, it was just the energy that just brought me so much joy. When you're in that space, it's amazing, the healing, what can happen, the channeling, all that, the information that comes through is just compounded beautifully. Okay. Now, when I was there one day, I met three, and now our goal was to go inside the mountain and just take a look around what's going on in the mountain, right? And this is a mind journey. Okay. We're just imagining that we're invited inside and we're going to see what it is. Okay. My friends basically saw a lot of crystals and things. And for me, they sat me down and said, hey, well, we've got a job for you. There was three angels that did this. And then they're like, oh, you have a job for me, huh? I mean, I don't get to go look around, And they said, no, you're not done. You're not done with, I also work as a hospice nurse. You're not done with your hospice nursing. And Mina and I work just part-time, very part-time, 5 days a month. But, and I thought, wow, I thought I was getting ready to retire. I said, who's the manager? Who's the manager here? And they said, you're the manager. And I said, well, what's going on? And they said, well, you're working now. You're going to be working more, not one-to-one bedside, but your soul. And I believe this now for everybody. This is everybody, not just me. We all have this. We all have a soul that is doing things that we don't know about. And it could be healing. It could be, who knows? It could be meeting cows as they transition. I met a lady that was like, whoa, okay. We could be doing rescue missions. I mean, we have things that we do that we don't, all of us. That's why I'm saying, again, we are powerful beyond what we know. But then what they told me was I would be working in groups of helping people transition in the next 2 years. that there's going to be a lot of people leaving Earth, and that there's going to be a special need for people to help them transition in a group level. So my soul is doing this. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what, I mean, I've had one dream about it, but so, and since then I was like, wow, we all have these missions that we don't even realize how important we are.
It's true. Like we're called in certain directions and we kind of just make sense of it. Do you feel called to like facilitate like group healings for people in hospice or some type of
Oh, well, I haven't thought about group healings in hospice, but I do group healings, online. They're not, the people that I work with are not in hospice. It's all voluntary. Because I think if they were in hospice, I mean, they'd have to show up here. You know what I mean? It would be a little hard to do a group.
Or like you come, my mind went so many different directions. So I'm going like Earth, like energetic, and then galactic as you're talking. But then when my brain went to Earth, I go, oh, like, have you ever thought about, I don't know, going to a place where there was more than one person in hospice and just giving them energy all at the same time in the group? Because they would, of course, they're in hospice, but it would heal something within them.
Yeah. And I have been in hospice facilities before, and that would be a very human thing, right, to do versus a soul level. I mean, even though you're doing it still on a soul level, but I mean, it would be very like on the earth thing to do. I don't know how they would feel about that, and there's very few of those hospice facilities.
There's very few. Oh, tell me about that. There's very few hospice facilities that would, I guess, nurture a healing event.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. I'm surprised by that. Makes sense. I get it because like there's allopathic medicine, but
well, I think they would think about the one-to-one more. Of course, they're open to all kinds of different kinds of healing. Because hospice does, it's a whole, what do you call it? Integrative health system, mind, body, spirit. But I don't know that they would be open to like a group transition at one time. So they have, for instance, when I first started in hospice back in 1997, I used to do drumming for patients and help them transition that way. If there was a fear or an anxiety about transition, and that drumming, helps people go from the beta mind wavelength, to the alpha to the theta, right? Where they can easily go across the veil and come back, for instance. Okay. But the chaplains were like, well, they were a little defensive, right? So anyway, I don't know, a group. Yeah. I mean, I think what people do oftentimes after people have already transitioned, they'll do a group remembrance.
But that's just you talking about the chaplains being defensive and like some of the environments don't facilitate that. That's really fascinating to hear about because like so many different people have ideas of what death and healing is and assistance is. And I just love hearing you talk about it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely, it's a wonderful world. I mean, working with hospice patients, wonderful. Hospice is a wonderful system. I mean, there's always improvements, right? And I think maybe as we go along, and especially out of the pandemic, because there was a time where they couldn't even do healing touch because everybody was worried about COVID. They don't, and she's saying they don't talk spiritual at all. Yeah, see, I do. When I'm with my patients, I do. Well, I mean, first of all, I feel out where they are in that. I don't just come in with my own belief system. I have to find out where they are.
I think, Kim definitely was ahead of her time. She's a pioneer, with what she brought to hospice and healing. And I mean, even you talking about healing touch, I remember in like 2014, that's when I moved out to California. And that's where like healing touch, from my knowledge, was starting in California, I believe. It's been a long time since I thought about healing touch, so I could be wrong about that. But there was like a major hub there. And I was even like, oh, great. Like, can I learn this? And they're like, we're only teaching nurses or people with massage therapy background. Like, no, you can't learn it. And so there's so many, for people who actually want to help, there's so many sometimes obstacles of how the system is in place.
Mm-hmm. Well, there is, I can understand why you're saying that. I think it just depends on the avenue.
It's the correct. I don't mean to bash healing touch at all.
Yeah.
No. It was just a bunch of other things. Like, I actually came to California too again, and I was like, and I was a Reiki master at the time. Like, I was like, hey, this is a skill I have. I want to share it. I want to learn. I want to deep. I want to grow. Like, we're talking about healing and how we connect to it. And I was calling up the hospitals. Do you have any Reiki programs? And they'd be like, no. I'm like, can I start one? And they're like, no, we're not doing that right now. And then like, I would actually know about hospitals that were offering things, but there was so much miscommunication and things, people weren't on board. And it's like, you really need a special person like yourself to start to break down the barriers or change the way of thinking, or, sneak things in, like, almost like, hey, like, yes, I'm following protocol, but I'm actually, bringing in so much like of the different energies. I'm drumming now. You probably didn't come in saying, like, when you first started, hey, I'm going to do a drumming circle. Like, that wasn't the entry point in, or was it? How have you approached this?
Okay. Yeah. With the drumming, I did. I mean, not right away, not during my interview, but it was very soon after. I said, because I had just learned through the Shamanic Foundation of International Studies, I had just learned a way to work with hospice patients with drumming. And so I was very excited to practice. And so I asked my supervisor, I said, can I do a talk about this with the whole team? And so that's what I did. The whole office came and listened. And then I did some drumming for them, and I just told them about it. And I was allowed to do it. The chaplains were the ones that were most reluctant. I would never do it sneakily.
Correct.
Because this is how you can get in trouble. Like if you say, well, or another lady, she was in our office and she was so adamant about doing Reiki, she got fired. So she just came in there, okay, I'm doing this. And then patients didn't want it. And then she got fired. So there has to be an agreement. Yeah. But it was the chaplains again on the drumming, because I said, well, what happens if somebody has a bad experience? How are you going to handle that? You're just a nurse. How are you going to handle a bad spiritual experience?
Yeah, I guess right. There's always an agreement. I just, imagine that on some occasions you might bring the energy of Solaris in, right? And no one knows that you're bringing the energy of Solaris in, but it's beautiful and helpful, right?
Yes, absolutely. No, I mean, I feel like this is what we do as humans. We connect to whatever source we want, with your guides, your angels, or whoever if you believe you have a Native American guide and you're walking in with your Native American guide, or if you believe you have a green angel, it doesn't matter. This is just our human mind. It's all source. And if you know you're bringing this in with you when you are going to see somebody for healing work, whatever level, whatever kind, whether it's in a traditional Western medicine doctor's office or hospital room or hospice bed, whatever, then yes, you are bringing that. Absolutely. No question about that. You don't have to tell anybody that, right? I mean, if you have a certain belief system, but you're not going to say, well, now I'm going to work with the green ray and work with your heart chakra, and we're going to do blah, blah, blah. They may not be ready for that.
Yes. They might not be ready for that, but it's very gentle, and it's just, it's just a gift of a thought, you can share with them until it, opens up into something more, and then you let it be from there.
Yeah.
Speaking of you were talking about the energy of green. How do you work with color in the way that you work with healing energies, or when you're even reading for a person and you're facilitating something that can provide something healing through even that capacity? How do you work with color?
Oh, that's so nice. I love color. So that's a great question. And there's so many ways to work with color. And it's really, it could be a life study to work with color. So, I mean, I would say the most common, well, there's a couple of ways. When I'm doing a reading, I know their colors, whether I see it, feel it, hear it, whatever, however I get to know their colors, that gives me something about their personality. That's what I use that as a connecting with a person. So that's just doing a reading. But if I was trying to do healing work, I will often wait to let spirit tell me what color to use. So I just wait and I see what spirit says or feel. I know what I feel. And then I'm sending that color. Now I can send it. I can use my hands to send it. I can use my wands to send it. I can tell Archangel Raphael to send it. So there's lots of different ways. But I just recently taught a color class, and one of the days we were there, we were practicing with each other, working on color healing. And so what they would do, and we can do this, you can imagine, as you do this, and let's just say we want to put in, I'm going to say blue. I'm going to put blue in my hands. I'm imagining blue coming out of my hands, maybe even fingertips or whatever. And then I can imagine, let's say if I'm going to send it to you, although I feel like you need green, it just came to me, I think you need green, okay? And so I'm going to just maybe I'm going to gently put it down. If I scrape your energies, you're going to feel, like a chalkboard, right? So you gently work with the colors down the body or around wherever you think it's needed. Does that make sense? So that's very simple and easy. Anybody can do this. I want to also say, we're all healers. We can all do this.
Absolutely. And for us individuals who are very visual, color is such a wonderful springboard to get in touch with energy.
Yes.
Like, you're very visual, so that's why color really, speaks to you so naturally.
Mm-hmm.
When you are inspired to send a color, do you interact with the person's aura and see colors changing, or
Yes.
what is your experience with then working with a color of a person as you're sending them another color?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I see it change. And I'll know if it needs work if I sometimes see, for instance, pretend I'm working in the heart. And not all hearts are green. I mean, you can take the colors you see on the internet for the different chakras. That doesn't always the case, okay? But let's just pretend they've got a green heart. And if I see it as an olive green with a little bit of, perhaps, and this is not uncommon for me, a little bit of brownish on the bottom rim of this circle, for instance. But then I know I need to work on that brownish area. And I wait and see, okay, what do I need to send it? And oftentimes it'll be a lime green. If I want to counteract that darker green, I want to bring it in a lime green, or maybe even a yellow, maybe a blue. And so that color comes in, and I wait and I keep doing it until I see it change. Yes. And I usually talk through it as well.
You said you usually talk through it as well?
Yeah, because I'll feel into why.
Okay. So do you talk like out loud about what you're experiencing? Like as you're working with it, you go, oh, I'm seeing this and I'm working with it. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, I do.
Oh no, I just had a thought and a visual and it just flew out of my head when I was imagining looking at what you were doing. That can happen sometimes, right? Oh man. It was a color question. Let me see if I can get it back into my system. Okay. What I wanted to ask is, do you work with shapes as well as colors?
Shapes. You mean shapes of colors?
However they come up. They can come up in many ways. So whatever way they happen to come up, and whatever you can imagine, whether it's an outline, whether it's geometric, whatever, how the colors move, however your experience.
Yeah, well, so for me, when I see certain shapes, I can tell if it's a guide or a departed loved one or an animal. I mean, so there's certain colors and there's certain shapes that kind of go with that. So if they're around somebody's field, right? I mean, sure, I can see smaller, bigger, if I'm working with the chakra or the auric field tight or out. Sure, I see different shapes around the head. Yeah.
Yeah. Like like it could not even become, it's like the dimensions, outlines, right? Like it's all in the category of shape. Yeah. Like I'm a big believer of that. It doesn't have to be your typical shape, but what's happening within the aura, it's doing something. So it's so interesting to talk about. When you see a loved one versus an animal, how do they come across with the person's energy?
Okay. So, if I'm looking in the field, the auric field, typically a loved one will be around, it now depends on where they were in their life. Were they same level, upper level? Were they a child? So that will place them, at least this is my system, the way I see it, where it'll place them where they are in the auric field. But an animal, okay, there's different ways. They usually come in magenta for me. Almost always I see animals I'm talking about when they just are I know I'll see animals visually different, but when I see just the color in the auric field, it's usually magenta. And then sometimes it's like around here, or it could even be right at the throat. And I know they're an advocate for animals. If I see this magenta in the throat, I know that they speak for the animals. If I see magenta in the heart, that means they love animals. There's like huge love for animals. So there's that. But oftentimes if you're looking at somebody's field, the animals tend to be on the, just because they're smaller and they're usually, on the ground.
Yeah, it's true.
They are usually on that lower. I don't normally see like a cat up here, for instance.
Yeah, I don't think I have either. The couple of times where I've seen like animals higher, is if they were almost like protectors, or like spiritual guides, like the the cat or the dog had like this very special role within the individual's life. So it's almost like there's like this, I don't know, this deeper intelligent soul connection, because it's almost like they had a human relationship with the dog or the cat, right? But for the most part, they're a little bit lower. That's just the way we all experience it so differently. So I always love talking about it.
Yeah. And I love that MK, I know I'm not saying it right. MK sees purple when I'm in here. I love that purple. So the purple to me is all about spirit. It's the divine. It's a very high spiritual color, purple. I sometimes see purple, sometimes I see pink.
You really connect to the pink. I love it. I think if you're seeing purple during meditations, that's a great sign. I could go into it, but it's like that means your energy is high. You're ready.
Yep.
Wow. So, do you see like magenta like coming in? Because I know you're very connected to that color. Do you see like dusty pinks or like
lots of different pinks.
Lots of different pinks.
Yeah. Sometimes the pink comes in more of a light pink when I know it's the grandmothers.
Oh, that's cool.
Like you think of the unconditional love of a grandmother, right? So I see that a lot. Especially if I see a group of women and they're all coming in of the light pink, I know it's the grandmother group.
Wow. So, this is really fascinating. You like have like these color codes, right? We all have symbols, but
yes,
you have like the magenta, you talked about the pink. What other colors mean different specific things or, general things to you?
Okay. Yeah. And I want to just preface that whatever my system is, it's different because we have to create our own system.
Correct. Yep. Like,
it takes experience to know, okay, this is my color but one of the things I see a lot, which is awesome, is green. And it depends on where I see it in the body, it tells me what kind of a healer they are.
Ooh.
So green for me is some people get orange as the healing color. Some people get blue as a healer, but I get blue too as a healer sometimes. But so when I see green off the fingertips and it's almost like dripping, yeah, they're a hands-on healer.
Yeah. Okay, I can understand that. But I mean, even though we all have different color codes or the way
Yeah.
that we read, it's so fascinating to hear about it from people because I think it just inspires like, oh, I understand why you see it that way, or just like the stories that come from it. Like just it's beautiful to hear how like you just have validation for people who are maybe not sure if they're healers, and if you see glowing green off of them, you can help them. That's awesome.
Yeah. 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 Oh,
It's
yeah. For
gorgeous.
sure. And orange is my color for something new coming up soon.
What
Like
are
soon.
the oh, go ahead.
No, that's it.
So you talked about pink is maybe one of the most common colors you see. What are the colors that you don't see as much?
Okay. And actually don't see pink. I mean, I see pink a lot. Yeah, it's one of a color kind common. I don't see brown too much.
Okay.
I don't see black too much. Which I know some people see brown and black a lot. And nothing wrong with those colors because black can mean that there's something new coming, right? It's change, a
Mhm.
transformation. Brown can
Absolutely.
be very earthy. So I just, for some reason, I don't see it so much.
Yeah.
For me, I see green as the earthy. But so
Me too.
I can see green for a lot of reasons. I can see green as a healer. I can see green as Irish. I can see green as money. I can see green as earth. So you feel what it is. For me, this is just my system.
Absolutely. Follow the feeling.
Yeah, I was
Um
gonna, yeah, the brown and the black. I see gold and silver a lot. Purple, lavender, pink, blue, turquoise. Yeah, I
I
see
want to
those.
ask pink turquoise. Yeah, turquoise is fun to see, isn't it? It's a pretty
Yeah.
color. We're gonna take questions in just a moment. I want to ask you like, what was your experience the first time you saw an aura?
Okay.
What was that like for you?
Oh,
Were you
wow.
open? Were you like not sure? What did you see even? All
Oh
those
my
things.
God, it was amazing. And it's never been the same since, honestly. So
Wow.
I was doing energy medicine. Somebody was working on me. It had been a 5-day thing. We were intensive working. And at the end of the 5 days, and this man was working on me, and he had only one hand. He was clearing my chakras, but that hand, you could see rays coming out of his hand. And so anyway, when he was done, I opened my eyes and I was like, oh my God, everything was magenta and purple, everything. I couldn't even see past that. I couldn't see anything but the magenta. I mean, I couldn't see your face. I couldn't tell if that your color, my color. I couldn't see anything. The only thing that also I could see was rays, like I had a ray coming out of my third eye, and it would be like a light beam and across this ballroom, and I would move my head. Oh, there, like I could just move my head and see it going across the light, rays of light. Yeah, that was my first time, and that was amazing.
That would
And
be
it's never
that.
been the same. That was so magical, and it was like, okay, of course, colors are there. Colors are real. Everything vibrates, and then I absolutely knew, everything has energy. There is no question in my mind, and even at that point, even when I wasn't seeing the colors, everything was vibrating then. And everywhere I went, everything looks like it was just moving just a little bit. Everything was vibrating. So yeah, it's all energy.
All that is very true. I can resonate. Have you seen that gold line in any other places other than like the mind, or have you seen the gold lines in other places too on the body?
Yeah, and when I saw that, it was white.
Oh, white, excuse
Um,
me. Yeah, I don't.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, like a spotlight, right? Um,
Correct.
okay, gold. I see gold. Yeah, I see gold a lot.
Or the lines, the spotlights,
Oh,
that's what I
okay.
mean. Yeah.
Um,
Forgive me with that.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes I see more silvery
Ooh, okay.
going
Cool.
out like that with somebody. Sometimes I see interesting things out of the third eye for sure. I can see even like an opening, or I can see, yeah, sometimes it's that. I've never seen it that distinct where it was that like across 300 feet. Um, so Yeah. It's
The
amazing.
silver lines. I don't think I've ever seen the silver lines.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that quite a bit. And to me, it's about connection to the angels.
Yeah,
That's
that
again,
makes
it's
sense.
my system, right? It's my system. Everybody's got connection to the angels, but some people who are especially like this is what they do. They're every day they talk to their angels from the morning to night. You know, then sometimes I'll see these silver lines. But if I
So,
don't see that, that doesn't mean they're not connected. I'm just saying for some reason I see it that way.
like, do you believe that they're like a version of silver rays or sparkles? Or I'm understanding what you see, because like I will see like maybe silver twinkles sometimes, but you see
Uh-huh.
like lines that's beautiful like rays. So is it the presence of the angelic, or is it actually like this is, this is who I am too, that's why I have the silver energy within me?
Oh, well, I haven't thought of it that way. I feel like it there, and it may be that, may actually be that this is who I am, but I always thought of it as like a telephone line.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I'm talking to you, you're talking to me, I got the message. That's what I feel like the silver rays are.
I love it. I love hearing the descriptions. Like, it's so fun. It's so cool.
And I like
Um,
MK saying the purple is her daughter. You know, the thing that I want to say about MK is her daughter's with her all the time. I think her daughter would come in pink, green, any color, just to let her know that she's there. And it's such a healer energy with her daughter. Really, very present and loving. So, yeah, I don't think she can get away from her daughter. There's nothing that she can do. If she forgot to think about her for an hour, her daughter's still going to be there.
I think like and feel when you're talking about her daughter too, and like, you said she can't, she's always around, right? I just think like there's we have relationships within our life, and we're made to grow in every relationship. So keep growing with your daughter, because your daughter is trying to grow with you, and you grew up teaching your daughter, and your daughter is now, as you grow up, teaching you. So there's a reason you're supposed to still be together, and it doesn't have to be the way that it was. It can
Right.
be something completely different.
Yeah. She's calling her hero. She's calling her mom her hero. Oh, really nice.
Oh, she has those lines of silver she's talking about.
Oh,
That's really
wow.
cool.
Okay. Oh, good. She told you that. Yeah. Nice. You're her hero, huh? Okay.
She was actually the same person was talking about to open up questions. We'll weave in and out. We'll weave in and out. Unless, was there something that you'd like to say? Because you're
No.
connecting to your daughter for a second. I want to
Oh,
honor
no,
that. I
no.
want to honor
I'm
that.
good.
She was asking earlier. I wish I knew how to pronounce her lovely name. It's M Kuvuki. And she was asking, what does it mean to heal the divine masculine?
Oh, okay. Just a second. I just need to write something. Just somebody.
No, go for it.
Okay. To me, it's about balance. Okay, we don't want to be one lopsided. You know, our society has been very masculine oriented, patriarchal for thousands of years, probably. But to heal the divine masculine is to allow the masculine and the feminine to come together and be balanced. And it's not about testosterone, right? It's about the energy of the masculine and the willing to allow each one to shine when they need to. It's the yin and the yang in a certain way, so that there's a middle point, and then there's that yin and the yang, and neither one is dominant over the other. You know, now I think a lot of people are saying, oh, well, now we're in the divine feminine phase. And so now that's kind of scaring some of the males, right? Oh my gosh, what's happening to our world? We're going to be divine feminine. So maybe there's a little pushback, but actually it's all about just balance. There is more feminine energy though. I mean, you can see that in the world leaders, that are more, coming into the forefront.
Absolutely. I think, healing the masculine has been coming up a lot, because I think the way that we lived our world primarily has always has been, masculine for hundreds of years. Again, I'm just talking about America. I'm going to focus on America, but capitalist society, masculine is I take, or I get, or I have, and feminine is almost like I receive, right? And we're coming into this like spiritual awakening, and it has to deal a lot with learning how to receive, learning how to allow, and we're going into a world where we're having this increasingly bigger relationship with the divine feminine. And so I think it's it's stirring up the divine masculine now. I've been this for so long, and now the divine feminine is rising up. Then what is my role? Where is the
Yes.
balance now? Who
Yeah.
am I?
Right. There's a lot of that right now. Sure.
There is a lot of that right now,
Yeah.
and the balance.
And I like Chris's. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, Mary's, just to elaborate, Mary's asking about, would it be a release of emotions and feelings with healing the divine masculine? She's asking about.
Oh, I think that's very helpful to do that. Yeah, absolutely. To release. You don't want to hold on too much. I mean, we all do some. It's impossible to release everything, but as much as we can, anything like grief-wise or anger-wise, anything that is not, of course, you don't want to release joy, right? You want to have that. But anything that's kind of bringing you down a bit, definitely you want to try to work it out, however that is. Whether it's therapy, crying, talking, energy work, there's lots of ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you were connecting to Chris's question too. He's asking about, a number of guests have said anyone can do this when it comes to healing. Can you ladies explain on that point a bit? What is that?
Okay. You want me to start?
Yeah, go. Yes, please.
Okay. First of all, I want to say that we are innate, our bodies have innate wisdom, and our bodies want to naturally heal. So we have our bodies are magnetic, have magnetic energy. We have a north and a south, we have lots of different energy systems, and our bodies naturally want to be balanced, just like we're talking about the male feminine wanting to be balanced. So our innate ability, our innate wisdom knows when something is off. And so we may not know it mentally, but our body does. And that's what we do when we energy test, the kinesthetic, the energy test, okay? So then we can test, okay, am I off or not off or whatever? But we also have magnetic energies coming out of our hands. So that's why I say we're all natural healers. All of us can do this. We can all make an energy ball. And I think the future, by the way, our kids are going to learn to do this more. I think in 20 years, I think the Galactics do this in their playgrounds, right? So, and I'm not saying the Galactics are better than us, not at all. I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form. We have a lot of good stuff too. But so we can move energy without any training, just with our hands. We can move energy like this with our hand. You know what I mean? We can move energy. The more you practice, the easier it is to move energy. And I think we can boost our energy ability, movement ability, energy healing ability by when you can work on yourself first, and like even doing a routine of tapping or whatever it is, balancing your energies. And that way you're more likely to be able to help somebody else. When your energies are balanced, it's easier to help somebody else. But you have to know when they're off. So it does take a little work that way, but everybody, just like we all have chakras. You can't say only some of us have chakras and some of us don't. We all have magnetic energy. So that's why we all have healing hands. It's just how we want to work with our energy system and how, we can practice. Just like everybody can learn to ride a bike, but the more you practice, the better you get.
Yeah, absolutely. Like human potential is it's fascinating, and I kind of look at energy as a great metaphor for so many things. Like if you have a successful businessman or a athlete, they are moving their energy. The more successful they are, they have greater flow, they have greater flexibility with their energy. And the more talented someone is, the greater capacity they have potentially to be a mentor, a teacher, and they just teach people how to move energy. They're like, if you want to do this, do that.
Mhm.
I've learned how to flow when things offset me. I've learned insight where I have to do this rather than that. And it's just learning how to work energy. And so we do it in ways every day with what seems very conventional sometimes. And we just thought, oh, well, that person's an athlete, that person's an artist. They're moving energy. But like in healing terms, of course, we get very philosophical. And yes, we go to the essence of why things are so. And we break it down into chakras. Why are we alive, right? We have flowing vitality in us. How do we create more of it, right? And Kim was talking about, we learn about balance, we learn about ourselves, and we have to, it's a journey to learn about oneself. It gets very technical, very heart-centered, rips the realities of space and time apart too. It's a trippy journey, it really is. But anyone can do it because it's just learning how to be. And the better we're in touch with ourselves, the more that we can light another person's torch with our own fire, our own awareness, and go, hey, look there.
Mhm.
If you're suffering, hey, look there. Hey, try this.
Mhm.
And our constriction and our fear becomes elongated, aka healthy energy, flowing energy.
Mhm. Mhm. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go in about 3 minutes, just to let you know.
Oh yeah, sure. We are that. This is how we wrap it up right at this hour.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, we're an hour and 15 show, so we're good. You're right on time, Kim.
Okay,
And
good. Thank
so
you.
how absolutely, how can people find you?
Okay, on my website, it's probably the easiest, mediumkim.com.
Cool.
So,
Mary was very connected to you. So Mary, you can find her through that. She's very connected to what you do.
oh,
Yeah, absolutely. And what other platforms do you have too as well, where people can connect with you or
yeah.
see what you do?
Okay, well, I have a YouTube channel. Yeah, and you can find a Medium Kim or Medium Kim, comic Kim Copeland, like it says on my name there. And let's see, I do have a Facebook page, but honestly, I don't work with Facebook that much. So that's not the ideal way to connect with me. It's better to go to my website probably or my YouTube channel.
Cool. And I always say before we go to the guests is there any type of wisdom that you'd like to impart with your audience, whether it's an inspiration, our card pull, a favorite saying? I always like to give our guests the last word.
Thank you. Thank you. I would just suggest to everybody to don't limit your unlimited potential. That we are powerful, that we are all one, really. I mean, we're one with Earth, we're one with each other, even though we know there's also the separateness that we feel, but we're working as a collective. And the more we can heal yourself and others, then the better off we all are. So, and just don't limit your potential.
in the inspiration of limitlessness from Kim. Everyone, please have a fantastic week. Thank you so much, Kim, for being here. And please go with love, luck, and light. And don't forget to live, everybody. Take care. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much. Thank